welcome back to Green is Good. This is the Go Green edition of Green is Good here in downtown Seattle. We're so honored to have with us today Jacqueline Drumheller. She's the Sustainability Manager for Alaska Airlines. Welcome to Green is Good, Jacqueline.
Thank you so much, John. This is a great conference. I'm having a lot of fun already.
Well, we're so happy you came on the show. You're after 1,000 guests, you're our first airline to come on Green is Good.
That is awesome. I'm
First
so happy
airline.
about that.
We're so happy. We're so honored. And before we talk, get talking about your great airline that you work with, can you share a little bit about your background? How did you get interested in sustainability and eventually join Alaska Airlines and have now this great title and important role of Sustainability Manager?
Well, that's sort of a long, sordid tale, but I pretty much didn't know what I wanted to do when I was in college, so I changed I think I'm the only person it took 7.5 years to get a bachelor's degree, because I changed my major from art to business to engineering to biology. And I was going to be a veterinarian of all things, but alas, I didn't have the parental support or the grades or the money to go to vet school. So I got my degree and I sat down with the LA Times, back in when they printed help wanted ads on paper and put them in the news. And I started going down the list, going, oh, let's see, biologist. Oh, shoot, nobody in LA is hiring biologists this week. Let's keep going down alphabetical order. Oh, look, E, environmental. Oh, that sounds cool. I'll be saving whales and stuff. Awesome. So I went in and interviewed with this guy, and we just talked about our favorite restaurants for 2 hours. And went home. There was a message on my machine saying, you're hired, show up for work Monday morning. Had no idea what they did. I got there, they were a hazardous waste disposal contract, handling all the military hazardous waste in Southern California.
Wow.
So I slugged waste for the next 3 years and eventually moved up. Actually, I met my husband at a hazardous waste disposal facility. So
that was
it's better than a bar.
Serendipity. Yeah, it's better than a bar.
Actually,
not many people can say that, probably.
The people I hang out with, quite a few of them can say it, which is kind of funny.
That's funny. So you met your husband there.
Yes.
And how long did you work in that industry?
About 3 years.
Okay.
And I moved up here to be closer to him, because this is where I met him. And
so you moved to Seattle.
Yes. So it was like 20 years ago.
Wow.
And worked in consulting and engineering for a while, typical stuff, removing tanks and conducting soil investigations and things like that. And I saw the opening for a job at Alaska Airlines, and I thought, cool, flight benefits, right? My whole family's in Southern California. This is where I want to work. I want to work for this airline. And I went in there, and it was an environmental compliance job, and I was tank girl. We had a environmental deadline, a regulatory deadline way back in 1998, that every single underground storage tank had to be upgraded or removed by December 22nd. So for the next 2 years, I went around the state of Alaska removing underground storage tanks.
Wow.
And eventually, over the last 17 years, I've been employed there since I was 12, over the last 17 years, I started seeing the value of creating a sustainability program there, and I was really frustrated. It was just a compliance job at the time, handling environmental rules and regulations. But there was enough like-minded people there that we started sort of getting together and forming a voluntary green team.
Wow.
And we kicked off some projects. We got the CEO's approval. I think I knocked him down in the hallway, stood on his chest, and pointed at him, and yelled at him for a while, and I didn't get fired. He actually got a twinkle in his eye at some point, and it wasn't for lack of oxygen, and said, that sounds very interesting. And I used that line. I said, Bill Ayer is really interested in this project. And, oh, yeah, okay. Yeah.
Got everybody motivated after that.
Got everybody motivated. So one of our first projects was our in-flight recycling on the aircraft. And
how many years ago was that? Give us
that was about 2008.
Okay.
So it's taken a while to get to the point where it was, and my job slowly transitioned from being 100% environmental compliance to 100% sustainability every year. A little bit, 10% more sustainability and less compliance.
But that's part of what sustainability is anyway, isn't it, Jacqueline? It's a journey anyway.
Oh, definitely.
So, I mean, you have to start somewhere. So talk a little bit about 2008. What you said recycling on the flights?
On the flights. I think, that time we were the 13th largest carrier. And now we're the 6th largest carrier.
Wow.
And we've jumped over nobody, because I think we're the 6th right now, depending on who's merged or who's gone out of business, right? And
still, so it's nice to be number 6 instead of 13. That's great.
Yeah, but it's so frustrating to see how all this waste on the aircraft doesn't have any opportunity for recycling. You know, in our homes, we recycle
Right.
our bottles
Great
and our
thinking.
cans and our paper. Our passengers live in Seattle and Pacific Northwest. They're doing it at home. Our employees are all based in Seattle and Portland and around the Pacific Northwest for the most part, and they're recycling. Why can't we do it on the planes? And there was a lot of good reasons we couldn't, but gosh darn it, we were going to try and find a solution for that. And sort of a ragtag group of green team people started learning more about it and trying some things, and it eventually evolved to where it is today. It's now it's a service standard. That's what's expected of the flight attendants. We have a goal around reducing our landfill waste by 70% over the next 5 years.
Wow.
And we're getting about 80%, a little over 80% of all of the bottles, paper, cups, cans, all the recyclables commingled at every single place where we have a flight kitchen. So any place we're taking waste off the plane, it's going to a recycling collection area.
So talk a little bit about, this is very instructive because sometimes we have guests that come on that say they took over a green program or sustain. You created this at Alaska Airlines from scratch. How did you, besides saying, Bill said this is very interesting,
That's a great line, yeah.
How did you bring the team together, and how big is the team today?
You know, it's hard to say. I mean, it wasn't just me. It was our core team, and there's still some of the original members there who are just as passionate, like our catering manager, who's just as passionate about recycling and making improvements. So I think, just having those people, being able to collude with them and get together with them and all focused on the same thing, even though it's not our day job, has its own energy.
Right.
And we were fortunate to have people on our team who never call it quits. Like, it has a lot of determination and are willing to take some risks. I mean, so much of this stuff was just like you do it, beg
2008 for sure.
Yeah, beg forgiveness later, right?
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, whatever underhanded tactic that we could get to push the envelope and move the ball forward is what we had to take. It had to be quick, down, dirty, and easy. So that's why a lot of Bill Ayer's interested in this project kind of stuff came along. Oh, really? Or I think at some point it's embarrassing. We even changed the company's value statement without asking permission, just like added the words in the environment in there, kind of thing. And, I guess somebody important must have wanted it done that way,
That's awesome. So for our audience members that just joined us, we've got Jacqueline Drumheller. She's a sustainability manager of Alaska Airlines. To learn more about Alaska, go to www.alaskaair.com. It's also the airlines of Electronic Recyclers International. When we fly from Fresno to Seattle, Washington, it's a great airline. Jacqueline, talk a little bit now about the journey, 2008 to today. How did you evolve this? And were you doing this from the ground up, or did you have other airlines or other paradigms that you were borrowing from?
So it was essentially from the ground up. I mean, some things like our fuel conservation strategies, that's always been part of us. We looked at it as a money-saving strategy because fuel is somewhere, one of our highest costs traditionally. So we have a lot of incentive to not use fuel. We don't want to use fuel. We try and limit anything we can do to not use fuel is a good thing for us.
So let's pause right there. So being green, being sustainable could be very good for the bottom line, such as in fuel conservation.
Definitely. And then the other things like the in-flight recycling and some of our energy conservation and our electric vehicle fleet initiatives. Those, as far as the journey is concerned, we started off with the green team. We had those first 7 projects or so, and we were just relying on getting visibility, getting things done quickly and getting some attention around them. And we knew that our sister carrier, Horizon Air, had been recycling for a long time. I think they started recycling in the late 80s as part of some campaign to save aluminum can money for a sick flight attendant, like a cancer patient or something.
Right.
And we always knew they did a great job, and then but wait a minute, how can we talk about this great job if we don't measure what we're doing? And so we thought, let's learn. We had some college intern help us out and show us how to weigh and measure our garbage that was coming off of our flights. And they were like, holy cow, Horizon's recycling 2/3 of all of their garbage. I mean, we always knew they were a great job, but we have numbers now. This is a kick-ass, sorry, can I say that? Kick-ass job.
Of course.
Okay.
This is, absolutely. This is great.
So, this is amazing. And I was telling a friend about it. She said, you should apply for some sort of an award. And I'm like, okay. So I filled out some paperwork. I sent it in. That year we won 2010, I believe. It was Washington State Recycling Association Recycler of the Year for a big business.
Wow.
And it was such a feel-good event. And it really gave that kind of buzz to everybody. They needed that incentive, that pat on the back, that external recognition, and having some numbers to prove something. Right. And so we were so proud of the award. We were just displaying it everywhere and sharing it with everybody and tooting our horn internally about it. And then the president of Alaska, the other carrier that I work for, is kind of like, Horizon got an award for recycling. How come we don't have an award for recycling? Well, Brad, it's because we're behind our sister carrier. How do I say this? I think we should be recycling 100%. I'm like, oh, that's a stretch goal. Okay, So it's those little things where you keep getting recognition, you keep communicating about it, you get people excited about it. You start integrating it into the culture, the way we think of ourselves,
Yep.
And it's not an easy thing to do. It's taken a long time to get to where we are now, and we've had a lot of hiccups along the way. But with certain programs, like what I was saying about our in-flight recycling program, we had so much pushback and issues and things that came up, but we got to the point where now everybody's like, okay, this is part of what Alaska Airlines does. This is what our customers expect of us. This is what differentiates us. This is, I'm not going to fight anymore. We're doing it, kind of thing. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, so it takes a while, and it's hard to describe that pathway there, but I think the persistence and the patience really pays off in those examples.
We're going to come back to Alaska in a little while, but we're here today at the Go Green Conference. Why is it important for you to be here today? What are you doing here today? And how are you highlighting Alaska Air's great sustainability program right now at this conference?
Oh, well, my boss, Joe Sprague, the Senior Vice President of External Relations and Corporate Communications, was a keynote speaker just a few minutes ago.
Okay.
And we're sponsoring the event, which means we have a raffle later on. Oh, I have my raffle ticket. They gave me a raffle ticket. I hope I win.
Okay.
For a pair of tickets, which is really cool because today we just announced that we're going to be flying to Costa Rica. We just made the announcement.
That's awesome.
And I'm really psyched about that.
Costa Rica directly from where?
LA.
LA.
LA, Costa Rica. Yep.
Wonderful. You heard it here first today on Green is Good. Alaska Air to Costa Rica.
That's right.
www.alaskaair.com. Go there and book your tickets now.
Right. I can't wait. So we're trying to communicate more. And it's one of those things, we never really tooted our horn that much in the past, and we're kind of get up to that point where we do need to toot our horn. People do need to be engaged. Our passengers need to know that not all airlines are the same, that we share their values, that they can help us too by packing light and not putting their napkin in their cup and things like that.
I want to go back to that, because we are a solutions-based program. We want to give solutions to our audience. But we'll talk a little bit about tooting your own horn. That's why we want people like you and brands like you to come on this show and share that with our audience. We've done that for 7 years. What are you most proud of in this journey of sustainability at Alaska Air? What one or two programs can you point to say, wow, we got that done, and that looked like the highest mountain to climb?
One of them I've already talked about, and that's our in-flight recycling program, and I'm proud of that because it was a grassroots effort of impassioned employees, and we had the ability and flexibility and the culture at our company to do that without nobody, putting us down or that. Okay, do you want to in-flight recycle? Give it a go,
Right.
But then the other thing I'm really proud of is everything we've done in fuel conservation with our aircraft.
That's great.
And you don't always realize this. I mean, when you're booking a flight on Expedia or whatever, and you find the cheapest airline that pops up, despite the fact that it's going to have 2 hours in Cleveland or something like that.
Right.
I know people make purchasing decisions for a lot of products and services based on a social or environmental reputation of the organization.
That's right.
But maybe they don't take environmental considerations with airlines because they think they're all the same. They don't realize that they're different. So there's a study that comes out every year by the International Council on Clean Transportation. They're a nonprofit organization, and they rank airlines according to fuel efficiency. And I'm really proud to say that we've come out number one for 4 years in a row.
Wow.
We tied for third place this last year, though, but we're going to pull out alone next year. I know we are. But it's because of all the improvements that we've made. And you look at the list and you see that there's a huge range of fuel efficiency on all these airlines. And the bottom of the list, I won't say their name, but every single passenger mile they fly uses 33% more fuel than one of our passenger miles. And why? Because they have a different approach. I mean, every airline has pretty razor-thin margins and has a hard time staying afloat. That's why we're the 6th largest carrier instead of the 13th largest carrier.
Right.
But some airlines invest in a less expensive fleet. So they'll buy like used MD-80s or something like that on pennies on the dollar instead of investing in brand new fuel-efficient aircraft instead. So their capital costs are way down, but their operating costs are way up. You know, for us, it's always been about what's the most fuel-efficient airplane we can have, how do we fly it more efficiently. We developed some technology in the 90s as a way of flying in and out of the great state of Alaska called required navigation performance. That allows us to shave miles off every route because we can use satellite-based navigation to get there and not have to fly sort of convoluted routes around mountains or have it take off in a different direction because there's a navigation shadow of some kind or something like that. And we're actually starting to use it as of last summer to fly more strategic approaches into SeaTac Airport here, called the Greener Skies program. So instead of doing this, the worst part of any flight is when?
The landing.
Well, and then the time you're stuck in the airplane waiting to get off the bloody plane.
Totally.
And
you can't even get to the gate.
And then, so I'm sitting in the plane, and I'm looking out the window, and I'm like, oh, there's Seattle. There's my home.
Right.
Oh, wait a minute, we got to fly to Canada first and turn around and then land, right? I mean, it's not really Canada, but it seems that way.
I understand.
Right. That's the worst moment when you fly by your house, and because you just want to get off the plane.
That's right.
And so what we do instead with the navigation is we can fly a more direct route. We don't have to fly to Bellingham and turn back. We can glide into the airport, right, instead of just doing this power up, power down thing. And by doing that, probably saves us 60 gallons of fuel every time we approach the airport for every single flight. And if all the carriers that had this navigation technology used it, it's probably about 2.1 million gallons of fuel a year just saved on these approaches coming to SeaTac.
So not only have you invested in the navigation technology, which makes you more fuel efficient, you've also on the CapEx invested in better equipment, so you're more fuel efficient. So you're number one now in fuel efficiency?
Yes, we are.
Number one, Alaska Air. If you want to be the greenest and fly the greenest, number one, Alaska Air. Talk a little bit about sustainability. Is there any outside organization yet that compares airlines on other sustainable behavior besides fuel efficiency, or we haven't gotten to that point in the sustainability evolution revolution yet?
There is a lot of different organizations that rank airlines on their greenness, and they all use different
metrics.
Yeah, and it's subjective, and this one by the ICCT, I like them because they have some science behind it, and
got it.
Yeah,
we want to leave our listeners with a couple other tips from you.
Okay.
How can they be more green on any airline that they're flying? How can their behavior be better to make the flight and the whole process of traveling by air greener?
That is an excellent question. So I think, and I try and be mindful of this when I'm getting ready to go on a flight, is if you pack light, for example. I think we calculated that if every single one of our passengers packed just like 2 pounds less in their suitcase, like maybe that extra set of boots or something like that, we'd save something like, I'm not sure I got the right number, but it's about like around 10 million gallons of fuel a year.
Whoa.
And thinking about, using a reusable water bottle and filling it up at the airport, post-security, of course, right? And, so you don't have to get the water bottles or cups on the plane. And then when I always make people take the pledge, when they say they fly Alaska, I make them say, go ahead, you're going to pledge.
Okay.
I promise.
I promise.
Never to shove the pretzel package or the napkin into my Coke can.
I promise never to shove the pretzel package or napkin into this
Right. That way the flight attendant can put it in the recycle, right?
Wow.
Keep them separate so we can get that can or that cup or that bottle off to a recycling facility instead of taking it to the landfill.
So going back to keeping the streams to be recycled clean and therefore more recyclable.
Right.
That's a great pledge. That's a great pledge. For our students out there, we have tons of entrepreneurs in the United States and around the world that are our audience at Green is Good. How do they become the next Jacqueline Drumheller?
Oh,
in terms of their education, in terms of how to, give them a little bit of some of your pearls of wisdom on the journey now.
I don't know that I'd want them to be the next Jacqueline Drumheller.
Oh, come on, you're being
I want them to be better than that.
Oh.
No, I'm really excited. I get a lot of college students ask me that all the time. It's really exciting to see the younger generation and how articulate and impassioned and professional they are. I don't even remember being all that professional and savvy when I was that age. But, I think about something. I think about me and how I fit in this position well, and I don't know that it's necessarily that I have a lot of technical skills. I don't think that was it. I certainly can't name any technical skills that I have, but I think I think Bob Langer, the former director of CSR at McDonald's, said that it's the 3 Ps. It's a persistence, passion, and patience. And I think that's really true. It's having sort of a broad skills, good communication skills, broad skills, and systems thinking approach where you can pull in a whole bunch of information from a lot of places and plan strategically and methodically and make the case. And so the 3 Ps. And I think too is a lot of people want my job. They don't, do you want my job? I think you want a job where you can start something perhaps. Those entrepreneurs out there, create it yourself. You don't want to step into my job. You want to go out there and find who isn't doing it yet and get it going over there.
That's great advice. Any final thoughts for our audience before we sign off today?
No, thank you for having me.
We're so honored to have you. And for our listeners out there, Alaska Airlines, it's the #1 fuel-efficient airline out there. So you can go to their site and book your tickets now, www.alaskaair.com. And from LA, now flying to Costa Rica, Jacqueline Drumheller. You are an inspiring leader and a sustainability superstar and truly living proof that green is good.
Thank you.
Thank you.